Okay, this week's Parashas, Parashas Yisro. Of course, everybody knows that. Doing Shnei Mikachatagim, keeping up with the Parashat. It's Parashas Yisro, Kabbalas Torah. And just as a small vort, one of the reasons why I think that we find that the Torah is given in the Parsha, it's associated with Yisro, the father-in-law of Moshe Rabbeinu, because he was a ger, right? And he chose. Right? He chose to become a Jew. He chose to become a from Jew in the end. And the Torah is telling us there's no such thing as from birth. Meaning you can be born into a religious family. But to be from is not to do it by rote, not to do it as a robot, not to do it because that's the way you've been trained. That's the beginning. That's the chinuch. That's the way we start, right? Where a person is fortunate enough to be born into a religious family. They have a head start. They're able to start learning early, get used to the mitzvahs very early in life. So that's an advantage, no question about that. But at some point in time, everybody has to choose it for themselves. Just like Yisro chose to be a ger and chose to be a Jew and to live by Torah, everybody at some point in time has to b'chai. You have to choose life for yourself, that you may live. Meaning that it has to be a choice, and it has to be an ongoing choice. Every single day you wake up in the morning, it can't be an automatic reality. There's no question that some mitzvahs we get used to, but still, the choice has to be there, because that's the currency of the world to come. The choices that we make, the bechira that we use. When things become automatic, we don't get much reward for those later on in life. So, that's the first part. But a little different approach to the concept of Kabbalas Torah and what's Torah itself really is basically the idea that when you're doing Kirv V'Chokim, you're doing outreach, you're trying to convince somebody that it's worth looking at Torah. It's Chaim Hi L'Machazikim Ba. It's only going to become a tree of life if you grasp it, you go into it. It's not going to become that way automatically for a person. We see that all the time. People denigrate Torah. They don't respect it. And they don't see how it's valuable. It just seems like pashut eitz, not eitz chaim, it's eitz mitzvah. It's a tree that kills. It's what it kills in the end, right? So in order to be able to convince somebody that it's worth looking at the Torah and making that choice, you can't just say, look, if you don't do it, you're going to go to Gehenna, right? It happens to people who don't live by Torah mitzvahs, who violate the Torah mitzvahs. It happens to them. They're going to Gehenna, What's that? And how do you know it's there? And where do you go? Where do we find that, right? And if they do the right thing, if the Makabel Torah do the right thing, where do they go? Oh, for them we have Olam Haba, right? The world to come. It's, there, somewhere. Where? How do you know? How do you know? No one's gone and come back to tell us about it. There's been no pictures, no eyewitness reports in the end. Just the belief, right? It's a hard sell. For a lot of people, for most people, even for people born religious from birth, I've been asked by people who are raised religious, how do you know there's a world to come? One of the reasons why it's hard to believe is because, remarkably, it's not mentioned anywhere in the Torah. It's not recorded. Not even the words themselves, not once. The Gemara has all kinds of allusions to Techis and Mesimis, Moshiach, and there's going to be a future world at some point in time that people will come back, but it's not mentioned in the Torah. Imagine a person going to college. How long do I have to go for? 4 years. Do I have to work hard? Extremely hard. What if I don't? You fail. How much will it cost me? Oh, who knows how many thousands of dollars. Right? What do I get? A degree. How do I know? People say so. They talk about it. What do you mean they say so? There's no proof. Is it written? It's not written down. It's not part of the college mandate. It's not part of the manifest of it? No, it's not. There's a Masara, there's a tradition that's what happens. The person's not going to do it. They're not going to go to school. They're not going to put the time and the effort, the money in. They don't know for sure. I want to guarantee. Where's it written, right? It's got to be written down. They know. You can't sell this to anybody if it's not written down somewhere. And part of the curriculum, part of the program, right? So why does the Torah not talk about it? Why does the Torah not mention it? It's a good question. Extremely important question. So some say, because that way you can do it for the right reasons. But that's true, no question about that. But the reality is, still a very tough sell. Very hard. there should be some kind of allusion, some kind of mention of it directly in the Torah itself. So the Lashon addresses the issue, and he says the following thing. He says, "Ve'achagol dvarim halalu, hinei yuvan lanu od inyan echad ne'elam." Right, after all these things that we've been speaking about up until now, he says we can understand a specific inyan, a hidden matter, ma shizchavtu bezeh kama kedoshi elyon. That which literally many holy, elevated people have banged at, so to speak. They've tried to understand this. For whom mashal niskar b'tov mefurash mu'uma mikol inyanei d'yemos haMashiach b'chayil maba. And that is why does the Torah not speak at all, mu'uma, at all, about Yemos haMashiach and Olam haba. V'ayin b'sefer kol yakar b'parshat b'chul kurosai b'pasav v'slachti b'sachachem shemevi shem midvrei gedoli olam Shiva Tirutzim, right? The Kol Yakar brings 7 different pshatim over there, different answers as to what the reason is for this, because he's not the first one to ask this question. Al Zeh Ayin Sham, Amnan Achron Chaviv Masha Kesab Bezeh Hashla, right? But the last one is the one that most Chaviv is the Leshem, which comes from the Shla Kodesh, Damas told us Adam, Bebais Achron, Ayin Sham. See over there. Divrei Pichacham Chayin, so Sayin Ishak, right? That the mouth of a Chacham is full of Chayin, it's a wonderful thing, and you can drink from his lips, so to speak. Ach Sod Inyan Bezeh, but the Sod of the matter in this, Bezehu Alpi Masha Amaynu. It's based upon we've been saying up until now, what he's been talking about until this point over here. Yere Kol Hator Kula Lefi Giluya Levusha Shiyata Lefaneinu. The entire Torah that we have today is based upon the world that we're living in. There's obviously only one Torah. All of the mitzvahs, of course, are eternal. But its appearance, the way it's been given over to us today, is based upon the world that we're living in. Ayin Zor Kadosh, Parashat Bahalosecha, right, talked about over there. Harei Einu Mavtiach Shum Tova V'Shum Schar. It does not promise in the Torah any real good, so to speak, or any reward, elo rak oseha, except for those people who do the mitzvah, perform Torah, v'shomreha, l'chukra, v'dorsha, except for those people who investigate it, go in to try to understand it, to learn it properly, to mekayim all the mitzvah, she'omed ne'eman b'kiyuma, that they're faithful in upholding Torah. Right? The Torah says, therefore, if you do the following thing, you get that. If you don't, you get punished in the end. You lose out. That's the way it's mentioned in the Torah right now. V'kol gluya hu shenidun kol echad lefi ma'asav, based upon the way it's revealed to us, the Torah itself, that everybody is judged based upon his actions. V'hakol b'mishpat v'kol b'din. It's all mishpat. It's all din. The entire Torah is mishpat and din, judgment and reward and punishment, and midah keneged midah, and v'chulu v'chulu. It's all talking about, you do this, you get that. You don't do this, you don't get that, and that's the way it's recorded. Amnam, however, hatikva asida, the future hope, right? The pleasure coming later on to call chendis Israel shehem kol hayudim achronim, the joy, the pleasure, the things that we yearn for in the future, which are all the future designated periods of time. Yemos haMashiach, Techis HaMeisim, Lam Haba, these things, right? Yemos haMashiach, Lam Chayim Haba. Hineheim teluim be'emes rak bebris, right? V'lo b'schus. V'lo bris avos v'Yisrael. These things, interesting enough, are not a function of mishpat and din, he's saying. They are really a function of bris avos, a covenant made with Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and not schus, not merit. The bris lo toifer lo'olam, as the Gemara says in Shabbos. Tosha speaks about over there that the bris is never abrogated. It's never canceled out. The bris is always going to be kayam. It's always existing no matter what we do.